Thanks for joining us as we head first right into all things people, power, and politics. This, my friends, is The Pulse. I'm Roop Raj. The Trump administration threatens to withhold SNAP benefits from Democratic-led states unless they hand over certain data. We're diving into that with how this all happened, the announcement of what it means, and talking with Lighthouse of Michigan's Ryan Hertz about the impact this could have. Plus, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem not mincing words as she pushes President Trump for a full travel ban from certain countries. We'll dive into those words, plus reaction from former congressional candidate Dr. Ahmed Ghanem and former Republican state lawmaker Rocky Richkowski. Plus, Snapchat taking age verification to a new level in Australia. They say unless users prove they're 16 or older, their accounts will be locked. Social media guru Ethan Lloyd is in Studio C with the impact this could have and what we could see come next. So we begin at that cabinet meeting and an update to a follow-up strike on a boat the Trump administration claims was carrying drugs. We told you yesterday how the Washington Post reported Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth issued a verbal order to, quote, kill everybody on the boat. That report also says the second strike came as two survivors were reportedly clinging to the boat, and the commander ordered a second strike to follow Hegseth's instructions. Hegseth dismissing the story as fake news, and in the meeting today claimed he didn't see any survivors in the water, adding this.
Did not personally see survivors, but I stand because the thing was on fire. It was exploded in fire and smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything, not based in any truth at all. And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about American heroes, about the judgment that they made. I wrote a whole book on this topic because of what politicians and the press does to warfighters. President Trump has empowered commanders to do what is necessary, which is dark and difficult things in the dead of night on behalf of the American people. We support them, and we will stop the poisoning of the American people.
And Mr. Secretary, on the second strike, you said it happened more than an hour after the first. Did I hear it correctly?
I couldn't tell you the exact amount of time.
Several legal experts tell the Associated Press they believe the second strike violated peacetime laws, and the Pentagon's own manual on the laws of armed conflict specifically say striking survivors of a sunken ship is patently illegal. But that wasn't the only news to come out of that big meeting, that cabinet meeting today. The Trump administration threatening to withhold SNAP benefits from people in most Democratic-run states starting next week. The only way they'll get the money is if they hand over the names and immigration status of people getting the help. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins saying the reason is to root out fraud. She cited data that 186,000 dead people got benefits and 500,000 got benefits more than once.
29 states said yes, not surprisingly, the red states, and that's where all of that data, that fraud comes from. But 21 states, including California, New York, and Minnesota, the blue states, continue to say no. So as of next week, we have begun and will begin to stop moving federal funds into those states until they comply and they tell us and allow us to partner with them to root out this fraud and to protect the American taxpayer.
But here's the thing, the USDA hasn't released detailed data, including how much benefit money that's received mistakenly or by fraud is being used. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel joined a multi-state lawsuit to block the requirement. That lawsuit says the states verify eligibility and they never share large amounts of sensitive data with the federal government. And here's the thing, while experts say there is fraud in a program costing $100 billion a year, they added organized crime, where crooks try to steal benefit cards or get them for made-up people, is a far bigger issue here, not wrongdoing by beneficiaries. At this point, it's not clear which states would be impacted by the money that's being withheld. But just to show you the impact this could have, we want to go by the numbers for a moment here. About 1 in 8 Americans rely on SNAP to help buy groceries. 1.4 million people in Michigan need these benefits as well. The average monthly payout is roughly $190 a person, which averages out to a little more than $6 a day. You'll remember when SNAP benefits were at risk during the shutdown, the concerns advocates had about people who need help getting food. And tonight, those concerns are back in the spotlight. Lighthouse Michigan President and CEO Ryan Hertz is in Studio C tonight with a closer look. And we always thank you for being with us and thank you for the work that you do in our community. Good to see you, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, Rube.
Let's talk about this for a moment. It's one of those things where people are kind of like holding their breath again, at least many people. First off, kind of set the stage for us. What are we seeing at the Lighthouse in regards to those people who for so long were worried about their SNAP benefits being taken away, and now that those have been reinstated, are you seeing any kind of a change?
Sure. During the period where there was a freeze, we definitely saw a big increase in numbers coming to our pantry sites and reaching out for food assistance. Once folks had access to their benefits, it normalized quite a bit.
What are you supposing or purporting could happen now if this indeed goes through and the Trump administration says, you know what, we're going to withhold these benefits from these blue states, including Michigan, perhaps, because we don't have the rolls, so to speak. Is that concerning to you?
Of course. We're emergency food providers, emergency shelter providers. We work with people for whom the economy isn't working for them. And when it comes to food for yourself and for your children, of course, this is one of the most detrimental emergency services that we provide, and we are not resourced to meet a gap of that magnitude.
You know, we have a lot of finger pointing going on in the world of politics. You're on a political talk show talking about food, and it has been highly politicized because of the things that we heard about, for instance, today. Your thoughts on whether states should just come out and say, you know what? Here are the rules. Here's a look at how many people got the benefits, how many of those were here legally, how many were not. What's wrong with that in your mind?
It's certainly not my role to determine which governmental organizations should be tasked with ensuring eligibility requirements for benefits.
But it impacts the work that you do, right?
Well, in this particular situation, we're not just talking about eligibility. We're talking about removing access to benefits for people who allegedly are eligible, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a different scenario entirely. I don't have a point of view on where this should land, but one thing I can say is the vast majority of the people who seek our services and who access SNAP benefits are hardworking contributors to our economy. They are the taxpayer, and we need them in our economy locally. And it's a little bit embarrassing, to be frank, to be in a country this well-resourced where we're debating whether or not we can feed our own workforce.
And if there is a concern about who is on those rolls, who is not on those rolls, how many of those people are here legally or not, your concern is that there are beneficiaries who come here regularly, who need it, that could all of a sudden SNAP benefits be eliminated from
the vast
right?
majority are going to be eligible regardless of who has access to the data, and those people will be impacted if there's a period of time where their food is being held hostage for political ends by anyone.
We're talking about a lot of people in Michigan, right? Millions of people here in Michigan. This is a huge concern that there's this political ploy that's happening over here, this fight. And in the process of that fight, people are then suffering on the other end of things. That's a concern.
The people who are suffering are not generally those who are concerned with which governmental organization is handling their eligibility requirements. You said 1 in 8 residents in this country access SNAP benefits to access their groceries. A third of them are children. A third of them are children. So, there's just no excuse. There's no reason. Again, and I said this the last time this happened. This is a crisis we are opting into. This is not some natural, event that's happening. This isn't, some kind of a thing happening to us. This is something that we're doing to ourselves. We don't need to, and we can take what time's necessary to figure out what needs to be done to address any fraud that may be happening, whatever the case may be. In the meantime, there's no reason to withhold people's food. It's just completely unnecessary.
And here in Michigan, to give you some perspective, we said 1 in 8, but there's 14 million people who depend on that. 1.4 million, 40% of which are actually have kids in that household. So 1.4 million people in the state of Michigan. That's an incredible number if you really think about it.
Yeah. And in our organization, we have many people from different backgrounds who access food assistance, and only 60% are even eligible for SNAP benefits. There's people who need additional resources to access food that are not receiving SNAP benefits. We're already not providing enough SNAP benefits. That's why organizations like ours exist. And we're talking about removing that fundamental pillar for basic needs assistance for people whose income isn't enough, affordability is an issue, lack of benefits is an issue.
Well,
it's just unnecessary.
There's 1.4 million reasons to get this right and to make sure we don't have an issue
100%.
here. And Ryan, I hope not to invite you back here anytime soon to talk about this issue.
I would
Let's
enjoy a
hope
break.
it's resolved. Yes,
Yeah.
because the bottom line is people deserve their food and their benefits even as this political fight continues. So,
100%.
Ryan, I want to thank you for your time here
Thank you, Roop. I
on the
appreciate
Pulse.
you.
Always good to see you, and thank you for the work you do.
You got
By the
it.
way, donate to the Lighthouse of Oakland County.
It's Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday. Your money makes a huge difference.
Matched
Thanks so much,
today
Ryan.
by Vibe Credit Union.
Matched
Dollar
by
for dollar.
Vibe. This is good. Well, thank
Make
you
it
so
happen.
much, Ryan.
Thank
we'll
you.
make it happen.
Yeah.
We're turning to comments made by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem after the break. She wants a full travel ban for certain countries. We have two people who are weighing in on those controversial comments next on The Pulse. Back now on The Pulse, looking at all things people, power, and politics, and talking about this tweet by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. And you see it here. She says, I just met with the president. I'm recommending a full travel ban on every damn country that's been flooding our nation with killers, leeches, and entitlement junkies. Our forefathers built this nation on blood. She goes on to say, sweat and the unyielding love of freedom, not for foreign invaders to slaughter our heroes, suck dry our hard-earned tax dollars, or snatch the benefits owed to Americans. We don't want them, not one. Here to dive into this, former Democratic congressional candidate Dr. Ahmed Ghanem and former Republican State House Majority Leader Rocky Ryzhkowski. Good to see you both. Thanks for joining us here on The Pulse.
Thanks.
I want to begin, Rocky, by asking you, when you see that tweet from Kristi Noem, what's the first thing that goes to your mind?
Obviously, she was the governor of South Dakota, but I don't see anything wrong with it in all actuality, and I don't think most immigrants that came here legally, that were sponsored, that went through the process the right way, that came here to assimilate into America, like my parents, my wife's parents from Lebanon, my parents from Poland, and most immigrants that want to see a better life for their children in this country, because they came to this country for a better life, they came here to make this country better, they're 100% on board. They don't want people to come here and take away from their children's future.
Doctor, your thoughts on that? The people who came here legally, the right way, those folks are not complaining about that tweet. Would you agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
Why is
because
that?
I think the tweet itself and the language itself, you can call it, this is a state-organized dehumanization. And it aims at dehumanizing the immigrants community in general. Because if you are an average American, you don't really walk in the street and know who's legal immigrant or who's illegal. You will see all other people with accent like me, people that look foreign like me or have funny names like me. All of us are illegal, all of us are an immigrant community. And this is dehumanization. And you can get your message across. You can do whatever you want. You can put laws and regulation. We are a nation of immigrants and we are a nation of laws, and nobody is calling for open borders. But we are calling to stop the dehumanization that happens every single day. She said that today the President of the United States came out and said the Somalis are garbage. Imagine the president will talk about a group of citizens in a state and calling them garbage. This is a state-organized dehumanization, and it has to stop because this is part.
I don't think the president called all Somalis garbage.
He called
those that were creating the fraud in Minnesota garbage. And guess what? They are, because they're creating crimes and they're stealing from your children and my children.
Rocky, let me ask you this. You know, when the president first talked about, and I can't say the word on television, but the S-hole countries and those brown countries, the countries from which he called them,
well, they weren't all brown countries, but okay.
Most of them were. And when he called them that, there was a rise in hate crimes against people who looked like the doctor or looked like me. And the concern in the immigrant community is that the president and Kristi Noem are drawing a monolithic swath over all people to basically say it's us against them. Are you concerned about the temperature of this country? And should Kristi...
Listen, I'm concerned about the language.
Should the president and Kristi Noem know better to bring the temperature down and not up? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the temperature should be brought down, and it's how we address it. Perhaps that could be something that we could discuss. But when you're talking about individuals that are creating crimes, that are killing, that are here for terrorist purposes, I think the doctor and I Doctor's Egyptian, my wife's Lebanese, I'm Polish. We can all agree on that.
Definitely.
And I think that the doctor came here for a better life and to make a better country for his children, to be Americans, correct?
Yes, definitely.
And same with my parents.
And so did my parents.
We are 100% on board with that. The best way we can diffuse this is any crime against anyone is illegal and should not be tolerated.
So we can agree that perhaps the temperature could be brought down, the language could be changed, but the bottom line and the ethos of the message,
Every
Rocky says,
Republican
is this.
believes that.
But here's it: not every Republican does. Some people
believes that,
cheer this type of rhetoric, and we know it because
we cheer it because we're upset with those that are taking advantage of this country, those that are coming here to change this country.
And we're upset also, and I'm upset, by the way, by the death of Sarah Beckstrom.
Absolutely.
And the wounding of Andrew Wolf, who right now is clinging to life because of someone who obviously was off the rails, who came here on a program known as Operation Allies Welcome. This was a Biden-era program. Doctor, I want to ask you about this. 100,000 Afghan nationals welcomed to this country with open arms. This president is saying, with or without the rhetoric, that there should be a more stringent way of letting people in, especially through programs like this. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. I'm all for vetting. I'm all for going through the process. But I'm against dehumanizing a whole community of Afghan, hundreds of thousands of people, because someone committed a crime.
We'll agree on that.
Okay, so this is, and there are a lot of lies that they push in the media that the aim of that feel that the immigrants are coming to take benefits from the working people. And if someone commits a crime, we have laws here, exactly like this law, and I want to show this law. This is called the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity. That's actually a law that prohibits any immigrant, any legal immigrants, to take any benefit from the government for 5 years because they have a sponsor. But they keep pushing that.
But those,
they keep
that's
pushing
those
the
that
lies.
are sponsored. Doc, those are the ones that are sponsored, like you, like my parents, like my wife's parents. But there are individuals, refugees that are coming here, and people that are coming here illegally, that are not sponsored, that are taking.
But illegal, that's another lie, because illegal don't take any benefits.
I understand. Rocky, one last question for you.
Yeah.
There's been talk from this president about ending automatic birthright citizenship rights in this country.
Yeah.
That's been applicable to so many who were born here.
Yeah.
I was born here. My parents came from India.
I was
born
here.
and brought up here. You were too. Bottom line is, to end automatic birthright citizenship could really change the way people are existing in this country and being citizens.
Not necessarily.
But possibly. And so my question is, are you concerned that things like this end up leading to bigger swaths of movement and kind of like this universal feeling that we have to just eliminate everybody else? And
listen, like the doctor said, we are a nation of immigrants. Yeah. And all Americans understand that. One way or another, they do. But what they don't accept, and what I don't accept, is the story on a sister network, ABC 2020, a while back. People can Google it. The story of Chinese individuals coming here and having birthing their children and then automatically applying for American citizenships and American benefits.
They call them anchor babies, and it's something that we should listen. Bottom line, that shouldn't be happening.
It should not be happening.
And you're right.
And this is what the president wants to address.
Rocky,
maybe he's not as eloquent as you are, but that's what needs to be addressed.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Snapchat takes age verification to a new level in Australia. They told users, prove you're 16 or you're out. Social media expert Ethan Lloyd with how effective this could be and what could be next. You're watching The Pulse on Fox 2. It is People, Power, and Politics. Welcome back to Detroit's only nightly political talk show. This is The Pulse. Here to talk about Snapchat's crackdown on underage users, Ethan Lloyd. He's a social media expert and the founder of Lloyd, a media production company. And it's always good to see you, Ethan. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ru.
All right. So the reason I think this is important, because when something happens in another country with social media, to me, it's something that we should look at closely because it signals something that possibly could come here.
Absolutely.
Talk about what's happening overseas right now with Snapchat.
So with Snapchat, specifically in Australia, a law has passed that has made it illegal for the youth. Anybody younger than 16 years old cannot use Snapchat. They will be banned. From now on, when you log into Snapchat, there is age verification. You will have to confirm how old you are before you can get on Snapchat if you live in Australia. This is a ban that they pushed because they felt that social media wasn't good for children. And it was tried, a lot of youth tried to fight this in court, did not work. It's holding strong. there are not going to be anybody younger than 16 in Australia on Snapchat.
Yeah, I would imagine, and I don't know the facts about Snapchat, but I would imagine that a bulk of the users are below the age of 16. I know when my nieces and nephews were 13, 14, they had Snapchat accounts.
Yes.
So what does this do to the market share for something like a company like Snapchat?
Snapchat is predominantly used by middle schoolers and elementary school students. Now, there are many concerns with Snapchat. Snapchat is used for a lot of inappropriate things because it deletes. It is all video-based, but it expires. So people post things with knowing that it will go away and it won't stay there forever.
No receipts.
Yes, so there are issues that Australia has a concern with. There's issues of pornography, child pornography, the use of illegal drugs being used and advertised on this platform. Just a lot of mess that they're trying to clean up here. As far as for the market is going to shrink. There are going to be less users to advertise to. They're going to lose a lot of money because of this.
So what happens next in terms of these 13, 14, 15-year-olds? Do they go somewhere else? And if they try, do you think that the similar rules will try to be kind of placed on another social media app?
I think we are going to see more of this and not less of this. Anybody younger than 16 who is on Snapchat in Australia and, are turning for somewhere else to go, they may find trouble in other places as lawmakers pursue this for meta platforms, for other platforms. Now, all these apps have lobbyists, but there's only so much you can do when parents are concerned. When the safety of children is on the line, a lot goes out the window, including profit for social media companies.
But I often say this on this show, but this is my opinion. I think when you look at any inauguration, Obama, Biden, Bush, Trump, it doesn't matter. Look at the first 4 rows of that inauguration, and you'll know who's helping run your country. Big tech has been in the audience for a long time. And it reminds me that in America, big tech has a huge part in our political world and diosphere. So what do you do with that? How do you try to root that out and place rules for the best of our children? They should, right?
They are some of the largest political donors. They are some of the largest investors. They are some of the largest job providers. I don't think we saw the CEO of Snapchat in the inauguration audience. I think we saw the CEO of Apple. I think we saw the CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg. Maybe that's a reason why it got to them first. But here's the main thing. This is something that has been tried to be done on the state level, not just on the federal level with Congress. When we're talking about a law passing, President Trump has been delaying the ban of TikTok for a very long time. So there can always be an executive order that's passed that will pause what is done on the legislative side of the government.
And you can keep kicking the can down the road during your administration, right?
You can, but at the end of the day, I think there is separation of powers here, where if lawmakers are concerned enough, they can push for a ban, an age ban on any of these platforms.
And so you think more of this will happen, not just in Australia and overseas, but here in America as well?
Here in America.
How quickly do you think we could see something like that?
I think it'll take a few years for this to be a major concern. I think we'll see it pop up in other countries as well before we see it happen in America. But I do think in a few years, 3-4 years, we'll see this happening more.
And the concern for pornography and child predators and bad advertisements, these are things that we all should care about more than anything else, more than anyone else's bottom line. It's important stuff, and we always go to you with social media stuff because you do a great job. Ethan Lloyd, great to see you. Thanks for joining us here on The Pulse tonight.
Thank you for having me.
That is The Pulse for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Roop Raj. As always, it was great to be with you.